You're listening to Design Between the Lines, the only design and home furnishings podcast where we talk with the movers and shakers, industry innovators, and lifetime legends of the home furnishings industry. It's here that I get a chance to sit and chat with the influencers shaping the industry into what it is today, and to learn a little bit more about life in their world. Lorri Kelley is an accomplished furniture executive currently serving as president of BDI, a highly specialized, design-driven manufacturer of contemporary home furnishings. Before joining BDI, Lorri held positions with established brands such as Palliser, Home Elements, Rowe Furniture, Thomasville Furniture, and Bernhardt. She actively uses her unique position as a female executive to advocate for women in the home furnishings industry as a member of With It, a nonprofit home furnishings networking and mentoring group. Lorri, glad to have you on our podcast today.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you maybe dry as we record this. This is the April market in 2017, and it has been a monsoon only with a lot of cold air. I hope you're feeling better now while we're inside.
Much better and much drier.
I'm going to take you, let's go back a little bit to Lorri growing up and tell me a little bit about what kind of got you interested in this business, things that may have occurred to you in your childhood as you were growing up, and maybe some influences that helped you along the way.
Yeah, I had a wonderful childhood, honestly. I grew up in a suburb of Kansas City with an absolutely wonderful family, baby, only girl. So as you can imagine, I got a little preferential treatment, which was kind of fun. But, we had a terrific family. My parents were wonderful examples. So work ethic and making a commitment and sticking to it and all of those things, being polite, just being courteous, all of the things that just help you be just a pleasant human being to be around was really important. And I had wonderful role models. And, I'd love to tell you that I just had this grand dream when I was young growing up that I was going to be in the furniture business, and I just dreamed of designing sofas or whatever. And to be honest, I had nothing of the sort. And I think with a lot of young people, they're asked to commit to some sort of a vocation or interest, or they want to be whatever they want to be, and they're asked to do that so early that I think a lot of young people have no idea until really they get into school and then something clicks. Okay. And I would tell you that the same thing happened to me. And I actually was a marketing and merchandising major, and I wanted to be in the ready-to-wear world. So that's what I did. Uh-huh. So right after school, I married my high school sweetheart, which was awesome. We've been married 35 years.
Congratulations.
And he's an amazing blessing, and I have wonderful children, two boys.
I know you told me
awesome.
earlier that he's not been to High Point. That's going to be interesting someday when he arrives.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to bring him, and he's probably going to go, wow, you've done this for this many years? So anyway, right after that, I actually went to work for a department store, a major department store chain in Kansas City as a ready-to-wear buyer. I bought dresses, coats, and suits, and I did that, and I loved that. I would tell you there wasn't a lot of creativity in any of that because the major manufacturers at the time pretty much planned out your buy. So you bought, 4 2 6s, 4 8s, 4 10s, a couple 12s and a 14 or whatever. But it was all pre-programmed. So there's not like you could use this a massive creativity. And it's like that job, everybody thinks if you're ready to wear a buyer, it's some glamorous, lots of trips to New York. It was glamorous for me because I was quite young. I was 22. And so for me, that was like the big leagues. But it was a wonderful, wonderful job. So I got pregnant with my oldest. And before I left on maternity leave, the president of the department store called me into his office. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, this is not good. And it literally was about a month before I was to go on maternity leave. And he said, Lorri, I'd like you to consider something different. And I'm thinking, am I going to get fired or what's going on here? He said, have you ever thought about, stepping out of ready-to-wear and into hard lines? Oh. And I said, hard lines? No, that's interesting. I don't even really know what a hard line is. But in the department store vernacular, that, of course, is, china, bridal registry, bed and bath, kitchen stuff. In this particular department store, it was the card shop and such, and it was furniture as well, and the interior design studio. Wow. So I did that. I said, okay, I guess I could do that. So I went on maternity leave. I came back, and started in as a merchandising manager for hardlines. And really didn't know anything about any of it. But with everything I've always done in my life, I want to be the expert at it, which can add a lot of stress and pressure. But to me, that's really important so that I can do the type of job that I'm being asked to do at a level that I find to be acceptable, which is generally a very high level. So I studied up on interior design. I took a quick class at a junior college not too far from where we lived so that I could understand the concept of furniture. You know, the term case good came into me. I was like, I don't even know what case good means. What is that? I mean, it's a piece of wood furniture, but in our industry, that's a term that if you don't understand it, it's kind of hard to do anything about it, or certainly at least buy it. So the department store that I worked for had a beautiful interior design studio with Ralph Lauren, Henry Don, all of the names at Century, beautiful names that we've grown to know and love in this business. And so I did it. And I learned about velvets and brocades and all of these fabulous woven fabrics and where to put chintz on and fringes and all of this amazing stuff. And all of a sudden, that really is when it clicked for me, because that was very creative. And it was beautiful. And I think women in general I think most of us can dress ourselves. So we already understand the concept of color and patterns and what works and what doesn't. So for me, I could just take my ready-to-wear experience, which was not like I had a ton of years, but I had enough to where I understood it, and then translate that pretty effectively into home furnishings. So yeah, that was how I entered it. I did not at any point in my life think that I was going to go into furniture.
Well, I was thinking, yeah, really. And isn't it funny how I'm sure there's people that you've met in this industry, same thing. They came from over here and ended up over there.
Right.
And then they wake up one day and go, well, isn't that an interesting travel I've been on? Let me ask you a question, because it looks like you took the creative side of things. You finally found a creative outlet that was really cool. Yeah. And you added in, let's just say we're making a little cake here. You added in the great upbringing you had and the work ethic that you really, you basically imbue that, I can tell you. And in doing so, I know it came from, and you said it yourself, it came from your parents.
Totally.
And so really that was the normal for you. So it's neat to see how you kind of matriculated your way over to this industry. And you decided that you wanted to be an expert in it, and that is wonderful. So now you're in the buying side of things. Yeah. How did you go from that side of the desk to the other side of the desk?
You know, crazy story. You know, and I honestly, in my life, John, I believe that nothing happens by chance. I believe everything happens for a purpose. And I can point to hundreds of examples in my life which clearly happened as a part of a greater purpose. So one night I was closing. I had to be the manager on duty one night, so I'm walking around and checking departments and whatever, and I see this exceptionally well-dressed man, and actually he was quite attractive, in a suit in the furniture department. So this was 1988. You didn't generally see men in a furniture department without a woman with them, whether it was their girlfriend, fiance, spouse, whatever, mom, sister, whatever. And he was just wandering around. It was like 8:00 and the store closed at 9. And I don't know, I just walked around, and then I came back around and he was still there, and he was sitting on the sofas and checking out the arms and the designs and looking at the furniture. And I thought, now, this is just kind of interesting. And I have no idea what made me do it, but I walked up to him and I said, "Can I help you? Is there something I can do to help you?" I mean, and we didn't have a lot of salespeople at the time because it was 8:00 at night. But and anyway, long story short, he was the vice president or a sales executive for Pennsylvania House Furniture.
Ah, okay.
And Pennsylvania House was in the process of opening retail stores in the Kansas City market.
Aha.
Yeah.
Looking around, checking.
Yeah. So we struck up a conversation. I met with him a couple days later because he was in town interviewing and doing some site selection for real estate. And he offered me a position to open stores in Kansas City. So we opened 2. And it was a wonderful experience for me because it introduced me to the manufacturing part.
Okay.
And at the time, Pennsylvania House and Ethan Allen were the only two manufacturers really that had store programs. So, and Pennsylvania Houses was not so much in dedicated company-owned stores, but they had a lot of independent stores. They were all independently owned by furniture people all throughout the country, and I believe we had somewhere around 50 at the time. So they felt a real strong push to be more vertically integrated. You have the manufacturing capabilities, and there's a lot of markets where they couldn't find appropriate distribution through the independent network, whether it was a full-line furniture store or just any kind of a mom-and-pop independent. Right. So they would actively go after folks to open stores or convert their stores to Pennsylvania House stores. And to this day, I'm not really sure why Kansas City was selected as the market, to be honest. I don't know, but it was. So we opened 2 stores, one in Topeka, Kansas, which is the state capital of the beautiful state of Kansas, and one on the Kansas side of Kansas City. And those were very successful for a number of years.
So now you stayed along with the Pennsylvania House Corporation for a while?
I did.
And how many years were you there?
I was there 7 years.
In the same capacity?
Well,
or did you...
what happened? Luckily, as I said, I like to work hard.
Yes.
And throughout my career, that has benefited me in many terrific ways. And so I think probably, 2 years in, once the stores were up and running, they asked me, they said, you really ought to learn something about sales. Wholesale sales. I'm like, that probably would help me. So I stepped in. They had an interim time in between a sales rep for Kansas and Missouri.
Right.
So in addition to running the stores, I took on the territory. And that was wonderful because that taught me to understand the world of furniture retailing from the eyes of the retailer. The challenges of receiving and prepping and all the deluxing and hiring a warehouse staff and loading a truck and getting it to a consumer, and then what happens if there's a problem, and then merchandising on the floor, GM ROI, all of those things to understand if what you're buying is actually going to sell. And if it doesn't, then what? And then how do you market and promote? I learned how to buy TV time and buy newsprint ads and cut radio spots and all of those things, which in turn helped me with the retail stores. So that was successful. I made a nice amount of money, which was kind of fun.
That's good.
So I was like, hey, I can do this. And I had a young family, and so traveling in Kansas and Missouri was manageable.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And I think I did that for probably 18 months, and they came to me again and said, okay, now we'd like you to step in as director of retail development and be the liaison between us and the whole network of stores throughout the country.
Since you now know how it works. Yeah.
And I could see it from all sides of the desk. Shortly after that, we converted. We had an owner in Houston that decided to get out of the business, so we converted his stores, 4 stores in Houston, into company-owned stores. So I ran those, the network, all of this stuff. And I have to tell you, that's when I was bitten by this industry. And I will tell you, the biggest blessing to me was that time because I gained credibility. And I not only in talking to retailers, talking to consumers, talking to other manufacturers, because I had the opportunity to be on all sides and actively participate in that. So that experience gave me the foundation that I needed to continue to move on. It was great.
Well, you've gotten this I'll say passionate journey up to this level. I need to ask you a question about women in the industry, women working their way up into levels, maybe even at that time in your career and whatever year that was. You might have found it difficult. You may have found a couple of roadblocks along the way. You may have had some failures, successes. Certainly, you probably had mentors along the way. What can you tell me about any struggles you might have run into or roadblocks that you learned how to work your way through?
It was interesting because coming as a young woman from Kansas, right? Great Midwestern family values, awesome upbringing. And the male influences in my life at the time were my father and my grandfather primarily, and could not have been sweeter, more gentile men. Fabulous. So to get into the furniture industry, which you would think when the majority of the buyers are women, that the majority of the people in working for these companies would be women, that could not be farther from the truth, particularly in management roles. So I found myself as this little young super achiever being quite often the youngest and most definitely the only female. So it's not like there were a lot of female role models or mentors that I could reach out to. Matter of fact, Condoleezza Rice, she has a quote in one of the books that she read. I think the book is called No Greater Honor. And she talks about, the need to find role models in the career path that you want, not necessarily as the gender that you are. Because she said, if I would have waited around for somebody who could teach me to, negotiate with the Russians, there wasn't a, old fat white guy, I would have been waiting forever. So I learned pretty quickly that since there weren't any other women that did what I did, certainly, and if they were sales trainers or something, they were generally older, I latched on to really smart men. And fortunately, throughout my career, I had the tremendous honor of working with some amazing men. And there's not a time where I can tell you that I didn't have a lot of inappropriate comments my direction, and certainly some suggestions and all of those kinds of things. And I learned to deal with that on my own. But for the most part, the men that I had the fortunate honor to work for and with were wonderful. And they saw something in me that they found to be refreshing and interesting enough to give me opportunities. Now, I am sure I made significantly amount of money less than people doing it, or certainly men doing the job that I had. But I never really, at any time from the men that I worked with and for, felt like I was being pressured as a result of my gender.
Okay.
So that part, I think, was wonderful. And, one of my two mentors, one is still with us and one has passed away, are two men that I worked for. Now, I wouldn't tell you that they were my mentors at the time I was working for them, but certainly after that happened, or after we parted ways and I went on, I certainly kept in touch with them, and they have influenced me dramatically. And I think for young women now, it is so important to find someone you connect with. It's really hard to have your boss mentor you, because the art of mentoring really needs to be about being able to be very vulnerable, being able to feel comfortable sharing anything, personal, work, maybe an issue with a relationship or some area that you're not as proficient in, so you want to learn more. And you can't always freely share that with the person you're working for. So it's always good to find someone that you just naturally have a great connection with. That level of trust is critical. And as a mentor, which I'm a mentor, and I'm very blessed to be a mentor to several young women and actually some young men, which is kind of cool. I honor that level of trust, and I make time to speak with them when they call and they need help. But what the most exciting thing is for young women now coming into this industry, and even for the young women now who are currently into this industry and they want to advance and continue in their career, there are great opportunities. It's funny, I'm finding the older I get, and as I get into these wonderful positions I've been blessed to have, now the industry has shifted and they actively are seeking women to be on boards or as part of committees or associations as influencers. Whereas in my past, when I was younger, you saw the same old guys.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all nice guys, but you see the same people in all of these different associations, no matter if it's Hall of Fame or whatever it is, in any of these associations. But now it's really great to see so many wonderful women being asked to step up and lead, because we do have a unique position and probably a unique outlook on a lot of these initiatives and product development and just ways to market and promote and be more important to retailers, or retailers be more important to manufacturers. And it's wonderful to see all of these opportunities coming up.
So you're seeing these organizations adding members that reflect what the real world, what's happening in the real world, what's really going on. They're adding members that reflect back on what's happening in the marketplace and who's really in charge.
Right.
I totally get it. And really what a great point to make for our women listeners, so they understand there's a fundamental change that's occurred. You maybe can pinpoint a year or something, but it's very noticeable now. And it's almost like you looking back on those were my mentors.
Right.
But you had to see today what their influence on you, being you, is, and match it against who you were then before their influence on you, to realize they were your mentors. I have the same experience with several of mine growing up, that I didn't know at the time they were my mentors, or frankly what a mentor was. You knew people that helped you along the way, but
right.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, and there, if I had to reflect back on three things probably that were the biggest, most important things that they taught me that I really implemented into what I did, they would be, number one, don't settle. Don't let your, whether perceived or internal weaknesses, keep you from really going after all that's important to you and all that you really feel like you can do and accomplish. Mm-hmm. And that takes a tremendous level of courage and discipline. It really honestly does. The second one was the importance and the power of relationships. We all go through this business, as you and I have been talking about, with people that we've known in this business for a long time. Mm-hmm. And you have to really nurture those relationships and continue to keep them in the forefront and stay in touch and go to networking opportunities in the industry. And once you build those relationships, hang on to them and do whatever it takes really to make sure you keep those in the forefront whenever you can, because as you go about your career, there are going to be times when you need to reflect back on somebody that you met, that you know, that can help you, either guide you, maybe point you in the right direction, give you some advice along the way. And I will tell you, that is a real discipline of mine, to make sure that when I make a connection, and I'm not talking about picking up the phone and calling them every day, but making the time to nurture those relationships. Mm-hmm. And then the third one is the power of preparation. Particularly I would tell you that as a woman, certainly when I was a young woman in this business coming up, I had to work 4 times as hard and be 4 times as prepared with everything I went into, no matter what it was, in order to be seen in the same light as a man, or someone as a man in the same role. Mm-hmm. So I would always over-prepare. And the one thing that has taught me is, you go into, whether it's a presentation to a major, a speech to, a group of 350 people, a podcast, whatever it is, you are confident and you're not as nervous because you've done your homework. Mm-hmm. And that pays off because, winging it, I just have never understood that. But so many people do, and they just like, I'll get in there and, we'll just see what happens. And I try and really anticipate with whatever project I'm taking on, all possible avenues and directions that it could go. And because I don't like surprises. I don't even like good surprises. And that's how, I just really believe if you can take the time to prepare in advance, your results and your success will be so much greater and your stress level will be so much lower. And you'll be happy with it at the end.
Tell me a little bit about what your feelings are about the future trends in this business. What are you seeing now happening in the way of home office and trends in dwellings changing that are going to affect in your current capacity with BDI, things you're developing and you're having developed and what you're working on with designers? What do you see changing? What's happening now out there?
That's a great question, and I will tell you that the absolute pleasure of being a part of such a great team at BDI is really understanding what's happening specifically in the world of office, whether it's home or in work environments, but primarily in the home. Not so long ago, you had manufacturers out there, and they still build these types of products, but they're big executive desks and the big bookcases and the big credenzas and all of the big file
36
cabinets.
by 78s and all of that. Yeah.
Totally. And, I guess maybe homes in the past had rooms, or maybe if you had a certain level of home, you had a room that could take all of that. And then I always thought you looked so impressive working in an environment with the big bookshelves and the credenza. You looked like you had arrived. Well, from our research, that's changing. And gone are the days of, needing to have multiple files. I guess unless you're an accountant or an attorney, you probably have lots of files. But for the rest of us in business, so much now is stored electronically. So you don't really need the drawers and the doors and all of the stuff to hold all of these papers. And you don't travel around with as much of that either. So what we're finding is that in that capacity as it relates to files, and then just from an equipment perspective, I don't know how many CPU towers are still sold. I don't think very many.
I
Or
don't
big
think
old,
so.
remember the big monitors? I mean, the huge, deep monitors that took like a third of your desk.
Yes.
So you needed a big work surface. Obviously that's all changing because we're either working on flat screen monitors attached to a laptop, or we're working on a laptop, or we're working on a tablet of some sort, or even maybe your smartphone.
Yeah.
So your environment has changed. And I think from a work surface perspective, people are using, we're finding people are using desks as more of a place to collaborate. So, you and I could be sitting across from a 66 by 32 or 4-inch desk and collaborate back and forth, because you'll have your laptop and I'll have my laptop, and it's actually a workspace that needs to be conducive for that kind of new
Almost
work.
incubation space, if
Exactly.
you will. Teaming.
Exactly. And that's where great collaboration and ideas come from. And we even see it in our own offices at BDI, which is really cool. So I would tell you the products and the furniture for that have scaled down dramatically.
They have.
Cleaner styles.
Okay.
Styles that are not quite so overdone with drawers and everything. We don't need to store as much as we needed to in the past. And if you're going to have a credenza, for example, we prefer to call that a multifunction cabinet that'll have a section with a pull-out tray, perhaps for your printer or your scanner.
Right.
Some drawers, because we still have paper and ink cartridges and stuff we have to store. And then some drawers for, the papers and such that you do have to store. But we like them to be beautiful, sized appropriately, and then have all the function that you need in place to completely store everything you need without that unsightly mess of wires that we call a bird's nest. And then I think the final thing is that we have had great success with, that I think you're seeing a lot more in the marketplace, are these lift desks.
I've heard a lot about it. You all have really kind of led the way with this. Tell me about what brought you to create that. I mean, somebody came with a need, or you all said, I want to do this, or some people like standing, some people like to be in other positions. How did that come about?
It's all part of the research and understanding. Before you into a product design, really you need to do your homework. Right. Understand the marketplace, understand the demand for the product, understand the price point that it will bring.
So you're getting this input.
All of that, right. And, we have a wonderful network of amazing retail partners that help us with that every single day. And that is a huge advantage as it relates to product development. So, you've probably heard the phrase that sitting is the new smoking. Well, I don't know that that's exactly the truth, but the point is, the more that you can get up and move around and be active, because we tend to all be a little, quiet sometimes, and we sit a lot. We're not as active as we should be, which is, I think, why...
Staring at a flat screen.
Exactly. We have some health problems like we do in the U.S., particularly. So if you can create a desk that gives you a beautiful work surface, that at a push of a button, it will raise to exactly the height that you need it to, because my height would probably, for an acceptable and ergonomically correct work surface, is going to be different than yours, just because of our height differences. So BDI went to work and created a beautiful power lift desk in our sequel collection that has a programmable keypad that allows you to set 4 presets. So you can have a
it's your
sitting.
award-winning sequel.
It is our award-winning. Thank you. It is. That's right. Last October.
That's right. Congratulations on your
Thank you.
Pinnacle Awards.
And I would tell you that we just have wonderful designers that just do
And that's
amazing
been
stuff.
received well at retail, I understand.
It's been huge.
very
So
well.
that one came out. We did that in 2 sizes, kind of a small and a larger one. Then we introduced it in a white finish. And because we get a lot of call for white finishes in certain parts of the United States. So then this market, those were all with a beautiful satin, soft to the touch glass top, highly durable tempered glass top. This market, we introduced another lift desk that has more of a high pressure laminate work surface on it
Okay.
as well. Just a different approach to working. So I would tell you that category for us has been highly successful. And the office category in general has been our fastest area of growth from a product category.
Lorri, we've kind of taken your passionate journey from the beginnings and your great roots to kind of where you are right now, and a little bit of the vision of the future with your position at BDI and where you've got the BDI team headed, and how great you built them up and how wonderful supportive the team is. I'm going to ask something that I ask all of our guests, and especially in your case, because your reputation precedes you. You're very well prepared, but you're also passionate about giving back in many ways. And we talked about your mentoring. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're giving back to the industry and your passion about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. I will tell you 2 causes that are near and dear to my heart. The first is an association called With It. And With It stands for Women in the Home Industries Today. It was founded literally 20 years ago. It's the 20th anniversary of the organization. And what was perfect about it then and continues to be perfect about it now is it provides a wonderful networking opportunity for young women and all of us that are older women, ouch, to network and learn to be better leaders, better people, and just better coaches, and certainly better professionals. And we certainly accept male members too. We have a lot of terrific men that are on our board of governors, certainly that are involved in the organization. What's been great over the journey of the 20 years is to see how many men in their executive roles really believe in the power of empowering women. Because sometimes we just need a network of each other to kind of bounce things off of. So I'm on the board of directors. I have served in 2 separate capacities. I started as the board of director, vice president of mentoring, and I was honored in 2015 to receive the WOW Award for mentoring, which is one of my most prized things I'm the most proud of, because I really am so passionate about that. And now I serve as on the board of directors in the area of education. So being able to bring people in and help to plan curriculum and events that just make us better and smarter, because we constantly have to evolve. And I don't care if you're a male, female, what you are. If you're not constantly evolving in your career and finding new and different and better ways to do what you do and being current on all of the great opportunities there are to learn, you should learn something new every single day, because that's what continues to make us better at what we do. So I am privileged to be able to be on the board with some amazing, powerful, beautiful, wonderful women. And then to be able now to reach out to that whatever generation X, Y, I can't keep track of it, but the younger generation of women and connect them and give them opportunities, to step up into chairs or co-chairs or committee chairs and you watch the amazing things that they're doing. It is powerful. And I had that, in the early 90s when I was coming through, man, I don't know what I would have turned out to, probably some tornado or something, I'm not sure, but really, really fabulous organization. And I just love it. And I think we're getting so many wonderful corporate sponsors and people stepping up that understand the power. And I would tell you that young women, we really are actively seeking to get new students, whether it's from the local university, certainly High Point University, in either design roles, or whether it's textile design or product design or industrial design, if they have any interest in furniture, furnishings, textiles, anything, getting them involved, because it's all about making those connections. We were talking about relationships. And if you can come into an organization where we have so many, partners, and there's opportunities that come from that. And with it is wonderful at creating that environment.
And there is a huge future for women in the home furnishings business, and frankly, for all young people. I guess it's our generation. It's our purpose to tell that story like you're telling it with it, and in your other capacities, that, hey, this is a great business to be in, and you can make it. You can make its future. But without you, there is no future. We really need that great inspiration and your help.
And at BDI, we have come up with our own opportunity to support City of Hope with our Bink tables.
Yes, I saw. Well, it's been in a lot of newspapers recently. It was, of course, in Furniture Today. Tell me about the Bink.
So the Bink is a beautiful little laptop table. It's, you've heard of the C tables that actually slide under the base of the sofa. So wonderful table, exceptionally well made, aluminum and steel, weighs 23 pounds. It goes indoors, it's outdoors, flat pack, so it ships. It's a wonderful gift. And we do it in a beautiful array of fun colors. And so the idea, I would love to take credit for this idea, but I cannot take credit for the idea. The idea was brought to my attention of, the next color we should do for Bink is pink. And then why not support breast cancer awareness? And I was like, that is brilliant. So we went to work. And our lead designer, Matthew Weatherly, who designed the Bink table and a lot of other wonderful award-winning BDI products, another commercial. He and the team went to work and they researched the Breast Cancer Organization official Pantone color, which is what we have on our Bink table.
Perfect. Well, and it would be nothing less than Matthew would think that through.
Totally. And so the initiative is think pink Bink and do something special. So we had it in our showroom this market, and we're asking our retail partners to step up and order the Binks for not only one to put on the floor, but some to stock and sell them. And we will start the promotion effectively on October 1st, which is the beginning of Breast Cancer Awareness Month of October. And we'll run them through the end of the year. And BDI will be pleased to donate a portion of the proceeds to City of Hope.
You've got a long way to go, but boy, have you lived a great life and really an energetic, inspirational, passionate journey that you've had. And I appreciate you being with us today. Thank you for your words of wisdom to young women. I hope they take it to heart. I hope they realize there's a place for them in many capacities in this industry, and I hope they come running. We want you.
We do. And I would tell you the best place for young women to really get connected is to reach out and get involved in with it. Because we have so many wonderful opportunities, and not just young women, young men, anyone who's interested in our industry. This is a wonderful business. We are all blessed to be a part of a home furnishings industry that, if you think about the people's lives we affect just by giving them beautiful surroundings, whether it's textiles or great design or furniture or rugs or paint colors or artwork or so many just wonderful things that, it's just a wonderful business, and we need more young people to step in. So as the rest of us, as you and I decide it's time to go on, our shoes can adequately be filled and all the great stuff can continue.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I know you're a busy lady. Thank you very much for your time. And Lorri, much continued success to you.
Thank you so much. It's been great. Really enjoyed it.
It was great talking with Lorri Kelley about the things she is most passionate about. The furniture industry, the power of mentoring, the importance of women in business, and creating innovative products with her team at BDI. Design Between the Lines is produced by Element Studio with the American Society of Furniture Designers. We're recorded in High Point, North Carolina. To learn more about ASFD, visit asfd.com, and don't forget to subscribe to hear more industry stories of Design Between the Lines.